Hola estudiantes. Today we are going to talk about the verb estar and how to conjugate it and what we use it for to talk about, and then we're going to go through a couple examples of how to use the verb estar correctly in sentences. Okay, so we've talked about the verb estar before, like when we learned ¿Cómo estás? Or ¿Cómo está usted? For how are you? And we answered with things like estoy bien or estoy mal or whatever. And so one of the things that you know that we use estar to talk about is how we're feeling or how we are right now. There's a couple of things that we use the verb estar for. One is feelings and the other is location. And let's just go over the forms of the verb estar. You should already know the first form because you used it when you said I am. Okay, so estoy means I am when you're talking about how you feel, like estoy bien or estoy contenta for I am happy. Estás, the to form, you should also know that one from ¿Cómo estás? You could say tú estás enojado or something like that. Está for he or she is or it is. This could also be you formal, like when you learned ¿Cómo está usted? For when you ask that to a teacher or an adult or someone like that. Estamos is the nosotros form for we are, myself and others. Estáis is the vosotros, again, y'all in Spain. We won't use this form too often. And then están for they are, or you all formal, or just if you're in Spain, just you, or if you're not in Spain, for you all, any group, are. Okay, so what do we use this verb for? We already said we use it to talk about feelings and location. Okay, so the easy rhyme that we talked about in class that you can use to remember this is how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar. Easy to remember, it rhymes. How you feel is talking about, obviously, your feelings. You know, yo estoy contenta, yo estoy triste, I'm sad, yo estoy cansada, I am tired. And where you are is talking about where you're located. So right now I'm in an office, so I would say yo estoy en la oficina. I could also use it to talk about the location of an object, like la computadora está delante de mí. It's in front of me because, you know, I'm looking at it. So for how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar. Easy enough. Okay, so let's do some examples of how we would use estar to talk about feelings, and then we'll do location. All right, so if I was going to talk about feelings, I would want to make sure that, first of all, I know which form of estar to use, and second, that I make my adjective, my feeling word, agree with the noun that it's describing. So let's try the sentence, I am happy. I'm the person writing this, so I'm going to use yo. And don't get into the trap of using yo soy. We all remember that from before when we learned it, but you want to make sure, since you're talking about feelings, that you use estar. Yo estoy, and because I'm a girl, I'm going to say contenta because it's feminine, and you just need to make sure that you know whoever it is that you're talking about. Is it masculine or feminine, singular or plural? All right, Joe is tired. For Joe, I'm going to just still use his name, or I could use L if I wanted to. Okay, which form of estar am I going to use? I'm going to use está. And then for my adjective, tired, I'm going to use cansado. Because Joe is a boy, I will use the masculine ending there. The last one, the students are sad. Since my subject here is plural, I'm going to use los estudiantes, or I could also use ellos. And my form of estar, which one's it going to be? Están. Because it's plural, I'm talking about a group of people. And then the word for sad is triste. So I want to make sure that I make that plural to agree with the subject because that is a plural subject. So I make it tristes. Remember, for adjectives or nouns that end in a vowel that isn't O or A, we really only have to pay attention to the number. The gender here doesn't matter. All right, so that's how we do this to talk about how we feel. When I'm talking about where things are located, I'm still going to use estar, but I have a couple of other things that you need to be thinking about. First of all, your location words, which you can see my video on the direction words rhyme. And also, we need to make sure that we're using day correctly. Sometimes we have day and it goes in front of a masculine singular noun. And when that happens, I want to make sure that I am using del, because remember, we can combine day plus l together, and that makes del. All right, so let's do an example. I'm going to show you where I am right now in this office, and I'm going to kind of show you what's in here. Okay, so here you can see that I have a board and a door, and the board is to the right of the door is to the left of the board. So let's talk about how to talk about this space here with Estar. Okay, so the door is to the left of the board. We'll start with that one. Okay, so the door is to the left of the board. I'm going to start with the word the door, la puerta. And then the form of Estar that I'm going to use here is está, because I'm talking about a singular object. Remember, with objects, it can either be está, if it's just one, or están. None of the other forms work to talk about objects. Está. All right, so then for left and right, I need to make sure that I put a la in front of it, because in Spanish, it's to the left, to the right. A la, izquierda. And then the word for board is el pizarrón. So, since el pizarrón is masculine, you are going to make sure that you use de. And then if you're thinking about el pizarrón, rather than, sorry, this is kind of squishing together. Rather than putting de el pizarrón, it's going to become del pizarrón. Okay? The next sentence, the board is to the right of the door. Again, it's just changing up the two objects. The board, again, is el pizarrón. I'm still going to use está because the board is singular. A la, because I've got to have that in Spanish to the right. A la derecha. And then it's la puerta. So what am I going to do? Am I going to make it del? No, because it's la puerta. I'm going to use de la puerta. So the only time that I combine it is when I'm using del. Otherwise, I use de la, de los, or de las. All right. So I think the last thing, nope, I think that is the last thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. You could probably do some examples, like again in this room, we had the board being above the chair. How would I say that? You could practice writing that. Or the chair is below the board. I also have, you can see the clock, okay? It's above, we'll pretend like there's books on that shelf. Okay, or the books are below the clock, or you could say the clock is to the right of the TV or to the left of the TV. The computer here, okay, on top of the desk. The phone is to the right of the computer. All sorts of things you could do with this atmosphere that I've just put you in. So try writing a couple sentences on your own, and you can always post them in the notes section. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in class. Buena suerte, good luck.